we are noticing that scenario analysis has become the critical capability for both climate investing and climate regulatory compliance. However, we also see right now that there is a lot of struggle, a lot of data gaps to fulfill accurately the checkboxes that are desired. That is why currently many regulatory regimes across EU, across Asia, for climate scenario stress testing are recommendations rather than rigid disclosures. And soon this grace period is going to end because systems will develop and these gaps will be full by innovations that is happening. And one innovation you will see out here is the Intelligent FactSet innovation that is to support climate disclosure reporting in a format that matches portfolio managers, asset managers, product development use cases. Now, there is a lot of innovation happening, and the best milestone that was in this area was released in December 2022, which was the NGFS Phase 3 scenario recommendations. These recommendations was for 5 scenarios. Next slide, please. And these scenarios are the pathways where and how we can see multiple climate futures. These pathways include a trade-off between physical and transition risk. You will see over here on the x-axis, for some scenarios, there is high physical risk, such as current policy and nationally determined contribution, whereas for some scenarios, there is high transition risk, like divergent net zero and bill. So on this spectrum, it is very important to find the balance, and different scenarios will be attached to different transition risk financial outcomes, which we will see in this presentation moving forward. Next slide, please. So, capturing the NGFS scenario, Entelligent is offering its T-risk methodology. This methodology was the first to integrate the NGFS recommendation. It is deeply rooted in science. It is using a top-down, forward-looking model, and it enables level field comparisons across sectors and across region to bring standardization in the climate risk reporting space. It also supports the scenario modeling requirements that are pushed by European SFDR, TCFD, as well as United States FID climate scenario assessment requirements. The method is patented, so it is transparent. Here, adopting this technology, you can show to regulators how you are doing and what you are doing from modeling frameworks to reach the outputs in full transparency. On top of that, the methodology is very, very customizable, where it can be translated into the financial ratios, balance sheet indicators of the choice of the investors. The modeling uses a very standardized 4-step process where we start from in-housing journal circulation models, integrated resource assessment model, and translating this model into financial indicators that we project for multiple scenarios, and capturing the insights from these scenarios into the risk data, which I'm going to elaborately explain on the next slide. Here, you will see that we compute statistical relationships between energy prices and shareholder returns. And after that, we calculate future investor returns in business as usual scenario and also in alternative scenario options. Alternative scenario options here comes from the NGFS scenario, 2 degree, 1.5 degree, divergent or orderly. And after the information on alternative scenario is released. We generate scores measuring the gap, the distance between the alternative scenario and the business as usual scenario for multiple models. And why it is important to consider multiple scenarios for a more informed investing decision, I'm going to show you in the next slide. So, different risk profiles lead to different portfolio screening mechanisms and different portfolio screening outcomes. Here, you will look at a backtest from year 2016 to December 2022, which is using below 2-degree climate scenario, which suggest achieving 2-degree goals in long run, 2100. Here, using the information from T-Risk, we have screened the portfolio MSCI World Climate Transition Index into two. One is the portfolio of leaders, where we see companies that are best adjusted to this scenario. And other is the deep pink, where we see companies that are laggards or identified as the laggards or pressured by these scenarios. Once we compare in short run of this long-term goals, we see initially leaders are outperforming the laggards, but once energy disruptions become solid or busier after the Russia-Ukraine war, we see laggards catching up with the leaders on the very right side of the graph here. On contrary, next slide, please. When we bring some strict, timely policies into the picture, like achieving net zero goal by 2050, by stronger policy disruption, stronger technology disruption, stronger energy efficiency disruption, and then we do the same exercise of selecting portfolios which are leaders and laggards and compare leaders versus laggards, we see that in this scenario selection, leaders still outperform laggards despite the energy market pressures after the Russia-Ukraine war. So different risk is going to provide different adjustment to investment decisions. And it is very important for portfolio managers, for advisors, for financial product developers to consider risk and the impact of this risk for multiple scenarios to make decisions that will be efficient both in the long run period as well as in the short run period of investment horizon.